Hi everyone, welcome to the Fantasy Football Endgame. If you're new to our channel, welcome. And my name is Pierre Camus, here to help you all season long with fantasy football. Don't forget to join our Discord. It is absolutely free. You can join the conversation, ask your questions about trade, waiver wire, start sit, anything all season long. The link below in the description will help you join there. And don't forget to join our live show every Sunday morning, 2 hours before kickoff. That's 11 a.m. Eastern, where we try to answer as many of your lineup questions as possible. You can also hit us up with a question right here on this very channel. That's right. Just leave a comment below and we will try to answer all of your questions the best that we can. Again, our goal here is to help. So give us a thumbs up if you like this and hit that subscribe button. Now, right now it's time to talk about week one. That's right. The season is here. Finally, you've already probably checked out our running back rankings with my man Chris helping you out there, all important running back position. Wide receiver, yeah, we say it's deep, but really with all injuries and all these changes in the depth chart, we don't really know what to expect, especially heading into the season opener, because we don't know how all these offenses are going to look. So let's take a look at my top 24 wide receiver rankings heading into week one. Now, starting out with the top 5 here, I've said this a lot throughout the preseason. This really is advice that's very helpful in drafts, but it is also pertinent during the regular season. You don't have to base your rankings off last year's finish, and pretty quickly you'll see why. Okay, as the season goes on, whoever finished at the top last year is probably not going to do that again. So that said, you don't have to put Davante Adams as your number one guy just because he was number one last year. Probably going to see regression in the touchdown category. Of course, I have him all the way down to number 2, but my number one receiver, who I really think could finish as the number one fantasy receiver this year, is Calvin Ridley. So why not start with him right there for week one? A very nice matchup against an always vulnerable Eagles secondary. Didn't do a lot to improve their position or their defense really in general this season. I have a feeling that game is going to be kind of one of those ugly shootouts, meaning there's a lot of points scored, not because both offenses are so good, but just because both defenses are so bad. So I really like Ridley. He's going to get a ton of targets. Pitts, it's going to take him some time. All right, folks. Davante Adams, like I said, all the way down to number 2. Then you got your usual suspects. Stephon Diggs, really solid start there. DeAndre Hopkins, of course, and then Tyreek Hill. All right, and then moving down to the next group, which is 6 through 10. Another guy, absolutely love his ceiling. Not going crazy yet for DK Metcalf, but again, he is somebody I really think could be a top 5, maybe top 1 receiver in terms of fantasy this year. We'll see just how high he reaches, but a pretty good start here. Even though they're on the road, I have him at number 6. Keenan Allen, not the greatest matchup, but you know he's going to get peppered with targets there for the Chargers. Justin Herbert, I expect to take another step forward this season. And then you have Justin Jefferson, breakout from last year, Terry McLaurin, and A.J. Brown. Julio, yeah, he's going to be a factor, but don't worry. A.J. Brown is still the number 1 guy there, so that rounds out your top 10. Those guys are pretty much must starts every single week. Now we go on to the next group here, 11 through 15, and you'll see a couple of Rams. You're going to see this quite a bit. Woods gets the edge over Kupp, and that's probably going to be the case most weeks just because he does bring a little bit of rushing ability. They like to give him the ball. He actually was second most in terms of rushing yards for wide receivers last season. They like to give him those end arounds, jet sweeps, and such. And the Bears have a good but not unstoppable defense here, so I think you'll see plenty of action from Woods and Kupp, especially with the running game. Kind of questionable with what the Darrell Henderson, Sonny Michel coming in now. We'll see how that plays out. In that game also, Allen Robinson, again, kind of a no-brainer start. Don't care if it's Andy Dalton or Justin Fields. You're starting him every week, no matter what. And then you also have Deontay Johnson, I think is going to be the number 1 receiver there in Pittsburgh. So in PPR leagues, again, these rankings, assuming full PPR, because that pretty much is the standard these days. And then a guy I really like, and I'm going to put probably even higher in some weeks, and that's T. Higgins. But you have to love this matchup. Talk about vulnerable secondaries. The Vikings were terrible on defense last year, 4th worst in terms of yards allowed. And you know what? They really didn't do anything to shore up that secondary. You talk about Patrick Peterson. The Patrick Peterson we saw last year was not the same Patrick Peterson that we're accustomed to, this perennial Pro Bowl player. I kind of think he's done. Look, PFF graded him out very low. He just didn't perform well. You know, age catches up with corners very quickly, just like running backs on the defensive side. It's usually those speedy corners that it does too. So I'm not scared of him. There's nobody else in that secondary you should be worried about. It'll be a little better than last year, but not enough to keep me away from those. And you know what? Ja'Marr Chase, all the problems he's having, I think we're going to see him very slow to acclimate to that offense and get targeted, which means more action for Higgins and Boyd early on. But I really think Higgins is the #1 receiver in that offense all season. All right, move down here to round out the top 20. We have guys like Adam Thielen. He's going to be just fine. Again, no competition there for targets. Again, no competition for targets there beyond Justin Jefferson. Irv Smith out now for the season. Might even see more work than last year because the Vikings, again, it's just kind of the same as last year. Didn't really do a lot to upgrade that whole team. Not sure why. Julio Jones, look, I know a lot of people a little wary because of last year. If he's healthy, which always is a big if, but it seems like he is, right? This wasn't a serious season-ending injury that he had last year, right? He's not recovering from an Achilles tear or something. He should be fine. He's a full go. Haven't heard anything negative about him all preseason. And he's going to get a lot of targets because, again, it's those two receivers and not much else. Derrick Henry, not a factor really in the passing game. So I really like Julio, kind of solid wide receiver too. And this could be kind of a high-scoring game in a good way because these are both good offenses. Devontae Smith seems a little high for him, but I've already said I think that game will be high-scoring too. And he's operating already as #1 receiver in Philadelphia. I'm a fan of Jalen Hurts. I think he will be just fine. Devontae Smith, that connection I think is going to take immediate effect. And then let's go on to the final tier here. So we talk about 21 through 24 because, again, your 12-team leagues, these are your top two groups of receivers. These are guys you should be starting this week no matter what. I'll talk about a guy like Courtland Sutton coming back from an ACL injury, missed the entire season. What's going to happen there in Denver? We don't know because we got a new quarterback in Teddy Bridgewater. You know, he doesn't get the juices flowing really. People aren't really excited to see Teddy Bridgewater as a quarterback. But look what happened with Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore last year. Both guys got over 1,000 yards. So why can't he do it in Denver where there's a better offensive line? There's a better running game to support that offense. I really think there's going to be plenty of opportunities for both Courtland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy. Bridgewater, if nothing else, is accurate. He doesn't have the strongest arm, but that's okay because Sutton is a guy, a bigger body. He's not the field stretcher. He's a guy who'll run those intermediate routes, work underneath, and will be a red zone factor. So I feel really good about Sutton. He looks great making cuts in the preseason. Don't be afraid to fire him up. And then Debo, I know that seems a little high based on last year's disappointment. Again, a guy that, by all accounts, is healthy going into the season, but this matchup, it just begs you to start him. And you know what? Jimmy Garoppolo might actually be a good thing for him because that low average depth of target, you know, the fact that Jimmy G also isn't a guy who chucks it deep, you know, too often. But it's okay because Debo doesn't go deep. He just hovers around the line of scrimmage. He catches those bubble screens, those really, really short routes. You know, Debo, as far as depth of target, the lowest among all wide receivers last year. And it didn't matter because he is a yak monster. He's somebody who can make plays happen. He will do that over and over in this game. So against Detroit, it's pretty much he's a must-start. Brandon Ayuk has been limited with a hamstring. He's going to play, looks like, but I really think Debo gets more targets and more action. So I'm firing up Debo ahead of Ayuk, just barely though. And then I do like Tyler Boyd, again, for the reasons I already mentioned before. DJ Moore, what do we expect from that offense with Sam Darnold at quarterback? Well, that depends on your opinion of Sam Darnold. I'm not going to go into that right now. But look, DJ Moore is one of those guys that's almost quarterback proof because he's somebody who is an efficient route runner. He's got speed and also some good yard after catch ability. So I really am not too worried. Again, this guy put up 1,100 yards, almost 1,200, 2 straight seasons with the likes of Teddy Bridgewater and a mostly washed Cam Newton. So I really don't see Sam Darnold as a huge step down. I think he'll be okay at least. But DJ Moore also, again, this matchup is against the Jets. I think that it's a must start for him too. Robbie Anderson, you're wondering where is he? Not too much lower. But again, I still think DJ Moore is the #1 receiver in that offense. All right, so that's my top 24 rankings. Again, check out our running back edition too. We do everything we can to help you prepare for week 1 and to win each and every week. Catch our rankings, our waiver wire videos, and of course, Start Sit, that live show every Sunday morning. And we're here to help you win all season long. Hit that subscribe button. We appreciate it. Thank you.